Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Scott Allison, and this is Beyond 280. This is the show where I go beyond the 280 character limit, because there's really no limit since you can do threads, whatever. But I go beyond the 280 character limit of Twitter to provide you with the context that is usually missing from your everyday tweets about all the different subjects. I kind of wade into the crud that most people don't want to. You know, a lot of people just kind of glaze the surface. I'm down deep in the crud, looking at the details of what's going on in the Twitterverse, you know, whether it be pop culture or regular culture, because there is a difference, politics, and whatever the topic du jour just happens to be. So, and if you're from maybe Mars or something, maybe you don't know this guy, but Elon Musk is in the headlines recently. Now, Elon is, well, first of all, he's the wealthiest planet. Wealthiest planet? Yeah, he's the wealthiest planet. He's the wealthiest person on the planet, to the tune of like 260 billion, something along those lines. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Bill Gates was the richest man in America, and he had like $1 billion. And that was like, whoa, $1 billion. And 250 billion, that is just hard to wrap my brain around. Anyways, he's an interesting character, to say the least. He's a bit on the quirky side, and I guess a lot of billionaires and millionaires are a little on the quirky side, but he's really on the quirky side. And we all know him as the co-founder, or really of the founder of SpaceX, and CEO of Tesla. He also founded the Boring Corporation. I know that it's not quite what that means, but they make personal flamethrowers. I want to get my hands on one of those. In fact, I might start a GoFundMe so I can go purchase one of the Boring Company's personal flamethrowers. There's spiders around here that I got to take care of. And he also founded, he co-founded Neuralink and OpenAI. So, needless to say, he's been a really interesting character to watch in the beginning of the 21st century. The early part of the 21st century, he's like the real life Tony Stark, if you will, except he didn't do the whole arms deals and stuff like that. He doesn't make weaponry, and he doesn't fly around in an iron suit. And, okay, he's nothing like Tony Stark, but neither here nor there. He's done all these things, and he's got himself in the spotlight again for another venture that he is going out on. And the woke mob, which is mostly progressives nowadays, but they're kind of shitting themselves a little bit. They're a little terrified. And well, you know, let's just get into it. And here is why they are so terrified. Elon Musk acquires 9.2% stake in Twitter. So this was on that Monday when this happened, Monday, April 4th. America woke up and was like, whoa, or at least American Twitter woke up and was like, whoa, Elon Musk is now like the number one shareholder for Twitter. That is something else. Now, we didn't really know what was kind of happening at that time. It's like, this is kind of unexpected. But when you read between the lines, or really kind of read between the tweets, then it kind of starts to become clear, because a couple weeks earlier, Musk sent out this poll on Twitter. Free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. I agree with him there. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? Okay, so I'll admit it. I was one of the 1.4 million people that voted no. No, they do not. In fact, they're kind of diametrically opposed a lot of the times. Diametrically opposed a lot of the time. So that's all fine and dandy, but then he basically followed it up with, the consequences of this poll will be important. Please vote carefully. So let me tell you something. He freaking told us what he was up to without really telling us. Now, apparently, he had been kind of like purchasing shares since the beginning of the year, but it all came to a head on Monday when he just slam dunk, I'm done. I now have 9.2% of the company. But you know, if you read deeper into what he's doing here and what he's saying here, the consequences of this poll will be important. Please vote carefully. You know, previously he was talking about democracy and how it cannot survive without free speech. His motivation is pretty clear at this point. Twitter does not adhere to the principle that free speech is essential. And this is an important distinction that we'll tackle as we move forward. He even went on to question whether or not, I mean, this is, again, it's a couple weeks ago, he even went on to question whether or not a new platform is needed. Now, I'm not a fan of this approach because, I mean, just look at how other platforms have fared. Getter, Gab, Parler, Truth Social, the new one by the Trump group. They're all struggling, and they're very niche, right? A lot of niche players over there. Kind of, it's just not what Twitter was in the early days. Let's put it that way. So this seems like a pipe dream to create a new platform. So I guess Musk's philosophy became, as he was kind of exploring this and kind of reaching out and getting public feelers on this, if you can't beat them, join them. Or infiltrate them, as it seems like he's doing here. So, of course, later was then, appointed to the board at Twitter. And holy crap, the woke mob and leftists sure did not like that. Which is kind of funny. So I will give credit where credit is due. Data Racer 117 saved me an awful lot of time by kind of compiling this greatest hits of the mob just completely losing their minds over this. I mean, he says here's some of the unhinged takes and abuse sent to Elon Musk after joining Twitter's board. They literally think he will oppress people of color on Twitter. Shall we get into this? This is going to be hard. So let's start with the first one by Guybrush Try Finger Butthole. This is probably a really serious person who's probably a scholar of some sort, I would imagine. So Mr. Tryfinger Butthole, or is that Miss Tryfinger Butthole? Did I just misgender Tryfinger Butthole? I might have. Elon Musk, buy a 9.2% stake in Eat Shit and Die You Fucking Palooka. I don't even know what a palooka is, but that sounds really intelligent. Wagatwe Wanjuki. I'm wondering what language that is. What the fuck? We said we wanted fewer Nazis on here. Elon Musk is a Nazi? I had no clue. That's really interesting. It's interesting to find out. It's interesting to hear. I'm glad somebody finally brought it up that Elon Musk is a Nazi, apparently. Hector Osoguera, Esquire. Make sure you put the Esquire on there. Elon Musk must be stopped from stuff. Kimberly Johnson, here we go. The virtual signal of the Ukraine flag. Why not just join forces with Putin? This is the end of the world as we know it. That's not unhinged at all. That's a perfectly normal take on this situation. Dr. Jorge Acaballero stands with Ukraine. I'm not sure what that says here, but if Elon's vision for Twitter is anything like his Tesla factories, then racists will get verified and people of color will be told to be cool about it. Really? Wow. They sure are giving this guy a lot of power. It's really interesting. I assume Elon Musk will use his influence on the Twitter board to argue that Black Twitter, hashtag Black Twitter, should be offset from white Twitter. He'll call it normal Twitter. And then he'll only give white Twitter the edit function. That's perfectly weird. You have to hand it to Elon Musk, Manu BLM. He made all these billions so that he could save humanity by going to Mars and checks notes, buy himself Twitter in order to be able to shitpost Nazi memes without restraints. Again, he's a Nazi. So everything I don't agree with makes you a Nazi, basically. I don't agree with you. You're a Nazi. I don't agree with that. You're a racist. You're a misogynist. why does anybody not have like actual arguments? Why did the left always go straight for Nazis and racists and white supremacy? Why? Makes no sense. So then we got some normies here. So some non-blue checks. This is good. Elon Musk is a white supremacist, fascist, capitalist, imperialist colonizer. That's a mouthful. Thank you, Northeast Anarchy, from the Northeast Auto Zone. Step into the zone, AutoZone. Does AutoZone know that you're an anarchist? Okay. Hey, racist scum, Elon Musk. This is Tony Barber, 0902 1997. This guy is really young. Hey, racist scum, Elon Musk. Pay some taxes, you POS. Why would you call him a point of sale? That's kind of strange. But what's interesting about this statement is that Elon Musk paid taxes last year. I know, a rich guy paid taxes. That's amazing. Not only did he pay taxes, but he paid the highest tax bill in U.S. history last year at $11 billion. I'm sure the government put that money to good use, right? Of course they did. They put it straight to infrastructure. That's like the buzzword nowadays, right? Infrastructure. We gotta build up our infrastructure. Okay, take that $11 billion and get to work. Yeah, that's not what they're doing with the money. Sorry. Elon Musk, fascist, narcissistic, sociopath. He's a sociopath now. Okay. He wants to take over Twitter and turn it into a white supremacist platform. Yeah, I see it. I totally see it. You're a white supremacist, evil, racist Elon. Okay. Well, some people kind of get double dipped here. So Queen of the World goes on to say, Elon Musk is a white supremacist. What do you think that will do to Twitter? I don't know. What do we think it will do to Twitter? Oh my gosh. Nutty people. Oh, this is a theme page. I like this one. Once again, fuck Elon Musk. Elon Musk can eat shit. Eat shit, fuckface. You suck. Eat shit. Hey, Elon Musk, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit prick. Shut the fuck up, you fucking loser. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're a bastard. Fuck you. No, I want to get you off on your rocket and fuck off into space. Eat shit, fuck face. Literally eat dog shit, my guy. Eat shit, eat shit. I need to break from Twitter. Hey, Elon Musk, eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit, Musk. Eat shit, eat shit, eat shit. Eat an entire dump truck full of shit. That's a lot of shit. I don't know that Elon is capable of eating that much shit. And these people are clearly the minds of the future, the intellectual, just giants that these people are. These seem to be a little bit more refined, a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Adult. Twitter seems excited to take this app and make it a right-wing extremist hellscape. I'm terrified. A right-wing extremist hellscape. Bad move for democracy. Great for sociopaths. If I said what I really thought of Elon Musk, I'd lose my Twitter account. No, you wouldn't, because you're a lefty. That doesn't happen to leftists. You could say whatever you want. But, so responding to Jack, but Elon's heart is racist, so him leading with it is of no comfort. So Twitter will just become an extension of Elon Musk's timeline. Misogynist, shitcoin loving, fascist drivel. What's shitcoin? Is that some new currency? Because if it is, I'm rich. I got that stuff coming out my ass all the time. So what's the new Twitter? We need to decide together, folks. See? There we go. Okay, Erica. That's the first reasoned response I've seen from a progressive in all of this. And then people saying they're going back to Tumblr. Yeah. But adding some levity to the situation is Lulu Chang Maservi. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correct, but she's the VP of Communications over at Substack. So Substack is kind of a platform for writers and bloggers. And they're very free speech centered. So really cool. Go check out Substack. A lot of really cool content over there. But she says that Substack is hiring. There's a big but, though, as there usually is. If you're a Twitter employee who's considering resigning because you're worried about Elon Musk pushing for regulated speech, please do not come work here. That's a mic drop if I've ever heard one, folks. It's a boom. She's clearly having some fun with the moment, but that is a great moment. And of course, Elon couldn't resist getting in on the act. Yeah, that next board meeting is going to be just absolutely lit. Absolutely lit. So if you're not familiar with this picture, this is Elon Musk, really smoking a joint on Joe Rogan's podcast a few years back. And he took a lot of flack for that too, for some reason. I mean, you either toke or you don't, and you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, so whatever. And then amazingly, the last part of this is amazingly, but maybe it's only publicly, Jack Dorsey, of all people. So Jack Dorsey is the co-founder of Twitter. He was the CEO for many years. Damn near drove that company into the ground, because it was kind of his pet project, even though it was his company, really. But he seemed to be excited about the development. He said, "I'm really happy Elon is joining the Twitter board. He cares deeply about our world and Twitter's role in it. Parag and Elon both lead with their hearts, and they will be an incredible team." And then, of course, the current CEO, this is who Jack was responding to, Parag Agrawal. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right either. I need to maybe take a phonetics class. I don't know. I'm excited to share that we're appointing Elon Musk to our board. Through conversations with Elon in recent weeks, it became clear to us that he would bring great value to our board. This is the guy that was like, we are going full steam ahead with the stuff we're continuing to do, which is, of course, banning speech and, banning users who don't, fit the narrative. So this change of heart alone tells me that he's got Twitter kind of shivering in their boots a little bit. And then, of course, the poor employees at Twitter. So Reuters tweeted this out, and there's a story that goes with it. We'll dig into that. News of Tesla's CEO Elon Musk taking a board seat at Twitter has some employees panicking over the future of the social media firm's ability to moderate content, company insiders told Reuters. So can we focus in on those two words? Moderate content. That's a really interesting choice of words, because that's not at all what Twitter wants to do. If you want to moderate content, you tell people, hey, cool your jets, man. Let's all be nice here. Let's not be mean to each other. No mean tweets. That's moderating, right? No. Twitter wants to shut down dissent. They want to turn off the spigot of opposing viewpoints. They want to shut that shit down, because we've got to be protecting people who shouldn't hear other ideas. But I digress. If we slip in, Elon Musk's arrival stirs fears among some Twitter employees. This is great. I love this stuff. This is why I do this, guys. I just love digging into the crud. You get dirty, you get stuff under your fingernails, and it's stuff like this where you get really dirty and you feel kind of gross afterward, because you're like, wow, this is such bullshit. So Elon Musk's arrival stirs fear among some Twitter employees. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Twitter employees are panicking over the future. Within hours of the surprise disclosure this week, political conservatives began flooding. They weren't pouncing this time, because normally Republicans pounce, according to the media. I think that's part of the style guide. But within hours, they basically started flooding social media with calls for the return of Donald Trump. I'll get there. The former U.S. president was banned from Facebook and Twitter after the January 6th Capitol riot over concerns around incitement of violence. Yeah. So I hate Trump. I am no fan of Trump. He was the worst possible candidate in that huge pool of candidates back in 2015. And somehow he became our president. And it was an embarrassment to conservatism because he's not a conservative. He never was. He's not a Republican. He switched parties because that was the way the wind was blowing. But neither here nor there. I will defend him on this. He never incited violence. Show me where. Show me where he said, go to the Capitol and wear a Viking suit and steal a chair. I don't think he ever said that, to be quite honest. But I digress. Lauren Boebert, or Boebert, however you say her name, the congresswoman, a Republican congresswoman, said, now that Elon Musk is Twitter's largest shareholder, it's time to lift the political censorship. Ah, you got me there. I am totally for that. Oh, and bring back Trump. Ugh. Why do we got to go there? Well, there's a reason why we have to go there, unfortunately. We'll get to that in a moment. But despite Twitter's reiteration this week that the board does not make policy decisions for Twitter, employees who spoke with Reuters said they were concerned about Musk's ability to influence the company's policies on abusive users and harmful content. So the way I read this is that they're scared that Musk might be able to influence company policy to lessen curbs on free speech. That's how I read this. Because who is the arbiter of what's harmful or not? Who is the arbiter of who is abusive or not? Who makes those decisions? It's a couple of dudes in a dark room at Twitter. They're like, oh, this guy's a jerk. Meh. That's basically what it is. Oh, I don't like this guy. Meh. Case in point, I called Bette Midler an elitist. Elitist white trash, I said what I said. She's an elitist white trash. I mean, changed my mind. Changed my mind. Regardless, I got sent to Twitmo for that. You must delete this offensive tweet. Okay. I acquiesced because, you know what? I wanted to have my account back. But I took a screenshot of it and posted that anyway. So with Musk on the board, the employee said his views on moderation could weaken year-long efforts to make Twitter a place of healthy discourse and might allow trolling and mob attacks to flourish. So that's a feature, not a bug, that Elon Musk, I think, is probably trying to introduce here. But first of all, I've got to go back to this. Years-long efforts to make Twitter a place of healthy discourse. Let's look at the definition of discourse here. It's written or spoken communication or debate. Written or spoken communication or debate. Usually it's used with debate, this word. And what is debate? It's when one party talks to another party who has a differing viewpoint or a different set of, data, and they have a discussion about said data, the thing that they're talking about. I don't like blue. I love blue. Well, I don't like blue because it's only in the sky. I don't know. Well, you don't like, I love blue because there's a lot of blue colors everywhere. That's discourse. That's a kindergarten's version of discourse, but sometimes you have to speak down to people. I'm just kidding. But that's what discourse is. It's a two-way conversation. And it's laughable that Twitter could sit there and say that they've had a years-long effort to make Twitter a place of healthy discourse. They've done the opposite. Anytime there has been attempts at discourse, one side typically has been shut down and removed from the conversation. Case in point, the C word. That's right. I'll say it because I'm a tiny account. Maybe they'll strike me. Who knows? COVID-19. COVID-19. If you uttered the word ivermectin in the early part of that discussion, you were just kind of, Hey, shut up about that. Then they started putting tags on your posts because, oh, medical misinformation. Friend of mine, you may know him, got his channel suspended because he showed a Senate hearing that was talking about a drug like ivermectin. Not that he was saying, hey, everybody go put ivermectin in your body. No, he wasn't doing that. He was showing a Senate hearing and he got suspended for that. What the hell? That's the sort of thing that happens. Now, again, that was YouTube, but that was the sort of thing that was also happening on Twitter. In the wake of Trump's ban from Facebook and Twitter, the billionaire tweeted, so they're talking about Musk here, many people would be unhappy with U.S. tech companies acting as the de facto arbiter of free speech. Yeah. I don't want a couple of dudes in a room somewhere saying what is free speech and what is not. That's not your role. Musk's intentions. I like this. Let me pause for a drink of water. Aren't you a tall drink of water? Anyway. Musk has not articulated what he wants to do as a new board member. I think he has. He's just in a sideways sort of way. A week before Musk disclosed a 9.1% stake, that number was 9.2 the other day. Whatever. He polled his 80 million followers on whether... That's interesting, 80 million. Anyways. Polled his 80 million followers on whether the site adhered to the principle of free speech, and the majority voted no. Yeah, about 1.4 million people voted no. The employees who asked not to be named for fear of retribution, that's bad. That's a terrible culture. Point to Musk's history of using Twitter to attack critics. In 2018, Musk came under fire for accusing a British driver who had helped rescue children trapped in a cave in Thailand of being a pedophile. Okay, he's crossed the line once. He won a defamation case brought by the diver in 2019. Okay, well then maybe there wasn't much to that. Or maybe he was simply stating the truth. I don't know. When asked for comment, a Twitter spokesperson repeated a statement from Tuesday that the board plays an important advisory and feedback role across the entirety of our service, but daily operations and decisions are made by Twitter's management and employees. Yes. So they've empowered their management employees to make these decisions. The board has empowered them. The board can unempower them, can remove that power if they choose to. And with a strong arm like Elon on the board, that could very well happen. Twitter is committed to impartiality and the development of enforcement of its policies and rules. Bullshit. It's just bullshit. Some employees that Reuters spoke to were not so sure about the company's commitment to this. We got some pictures of Elon. I find it hard to believe the board doesn't have influence, said one employee. If that's the case, why would Elon want a board seat? That person's onto something. Exactly. I think the entire reason why Elon wanted to be on the board was so that he could influence change. And we're not talking about an edit button here. Everybody keeps going back to the edit button. That's not what this is about, obviously. This is about the right for people who are using a platform that is accessible to the planet, that they should be able to use that platform and say what they want without inciting violence, without actually inciting violence, using words, not interpreted words, not dog whistles. You know what the word dog whistle is used, why that's used by the left? It's basically so that they can draw a line from anybody to anything, right? Sarah Palin, in some, I think it was a campaign ad or something, had targets, for what she wanted to, target on a map, right? Whatever that was. Well, they drew a line and said it's a dog whistle for why, I can't remember her name now. The congresswoman that was shot at anyways, it just slipped my mind. But they were basically drawing a line to, it's Sarah Palin's fault that, she was drawing targets on a map. So that's a dog whistle. Well, that's why the left uses language like this, so that they can draw lines from one thing to another that are not related at all. Anyway, I digress. Twitter's board figures prominently in discussions within Twitter, more so than at other tech companies, one employee said. And so, yeah, and this is because of the way they set up their profit sharing and sharing and shares in general. Trump's return. One employee familiar with the company's operations said there were no current plans to reinstate Trump. Okay, we'll see about that. A Twitter spokesperson said there were no plans to reverse any policy decision. Of course there's no plan. Elon Musk just joined the board. There hasn't even been a board meeting yet. Of course there's no plan. There will be. And then one analyst who covers Musk's operating style said such a decision may only be a matter of time. What he said was, if Donald Trump was actually rich, that's cold-hearted, he would have liked to have done the same thing, but he couldn't afford it. So Elon is doing what Trump would have liked to have done. He said he wouldn't be surprised if Twitter restores Trump's account now that Elon owns nearly 10% of the company. I wouldn't be surprised either. Longer term, employees said Musk's involvement may change Twitter's corporate culture. It's a feature, which say currently values inclusivity. Okay, well, I don't know why that would change, but okay. Musk has faced widespread criticism for posting memes that mocked transgender people and efforts to stem the spread of COVID-19. So, I don't know about the transgender people argument. I haven't seen a mocking, but the COVID-19 thing, he's basically gone against lockdowns and the mass hysteria around COVID-19. He's not wanting to stop the efforts to stop the pandemic. He's just like questioning the efforts, the hows, not the end game. That's ridiculous. And for comparing some world leaders to Hitler. Yeah, don't do that. I agree with this. Don't compare people to Hitler, because then you're just a progressive at that point. Because that's all progressives do. They use the Hitler reference constantly. We're all Nazis, apparently. Several employees were alarmed by the warm welcome Musk received from Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal and co-founder Jack Dorsey, which prompted them to hit the job market this week. Some people are dusting off their resumes. One person said, I don't want to work for somebody like Musk. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for these people. I mean, I work at one of the most, well-known companies on the planet. I just don't think I can work for Elon Musk, who's really not going to be my boss. But I can't work for him. I need a voice changer to make myself sound like a whiny baby. So let's take a quick look at what I think is the crux of all of this. The comprehensive analysis by Twitter on why they banned Trump. Now, let me preface this again. I did not vote for Trump the first time around. I voted for him the second time around because I saw what was coming with Biden. I saw that Biden was basically Weekend at Bernie's. He has no business in any position of power because he's a sick man. He needs help. He needs to be living out his final years with his family, with his wife, without the added stress of being a president. Now, of course, I'm talking about Joe Biden. And it hurts my heart to see how they're treating him. And yeah, so I knew that was coming, and I felt like the only recourse I had at the time was to vote for Trump. Alas, Trump is gone, and I'm kind of glad for it at the same time that I'm not, because he was not a nice person. He was not a conservative. Just look at his track record. He's not a conservative. And he was just kind of a nasty person in general. So all that to be said, I am going to defend Donald Trump here. Wait for it. So on January 8th, and this is from Twitter's website, their official reasoning for permanently banning Donald Trump. On January 8th, 2021, President Donald J. Trump tweeted, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and Make America Great Again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form." Okay, so I'm not sure why this is a bad tweet. I mean, it's the run-on sentence and too many commas and too much caps, and it's not just, it doesn't. He writes his tweets like he speaks. I'm just not very eloquently. Shortly thereafter, the president tweeted, "To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Okay, he's a sore loser. Doesn't want to be there. Whatever. I think it's uncouth, but you do you, Donald. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, right? So due to ongoing tensions in the United States and an uptick in the global conversation in regards to the people who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6, 2021, these two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country and the way in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences, including to incite violence, as well as in the context of the pattern of behavior from this account in recent weeks. Okay, let's break that down a little bit. So on the people who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6th, this craziness about some sort of insurrection, this coup attempt, is insane, and it's insane. You have to be either a complete conspiracy nut or just a moron to believe, or insane to believe that, these people thought they were going to overthrow the government with some MAGA hats and flags. I'm going to let that sink in. I mean, they had this guy, Q Shaman, who by all accounts is insane, go in his garb, whatever that was, Mr. Buffalo Man or whatever he was, and that was a violent insurrection. Now, the violence came when they shot that poor woman at the door. For no reason, by the way. It was cold-blooded murder is what that was. But, the main violence came when the Capitol Police removed the barricades between the protesters and the Capitol grounds and basically showed them the door. The fact that anybody would think there was some sort of insurrection is ridiculous. Maybe we've got some trespassing charges to lob at these people. I guess that's probably fair, but insurrection, a coup attempt, ridiculous. And nothing in Trump's words on that day or leading up to that day, outside of some conspiracy theories about stop the steal or whatever, none of it was violent in nature. It just wasn't. I can go outside my house right now and yell something, and 3 different people on my street could all construe it differently. So what Twitter is basically saying here is that your words, must be shut down if one person is going to misconstrue or misinterpret what you're saying. That's a little strange. A little insane. So anyway, after assessing the language in these tweets against our glorification of violence policy, we have determined that these tweets are in violation of the glorification of violence policy. And the user @RealDonaldTrump should be immediately, permanently suspended from the service. And so they're using those 2 tweets. Let's go back and look at them again. Okay. Pretty straightforward. There's nothing about violence here, nothing about storming the Capitol, nothing about stop the steal or any of that crap here. This is Twitter's own explanation. These 2 tweets are what got him banned. We assess the 2 tweets referenced above The determination is based on a number of factors. President's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that the election was not legitimate and is seen as him disavowing his previous claim made via 2 tweets by his deputy chief of staff that there would be an orderly transition on January 20. So again, Twitter is basically saying someone out there is going to misinterpret this. No shit. No shit. Again, I'll use the explanation of me going out onto my street and yelling something. 5 different people are going to have 5 different interpretations of what I said. Donald Trump didn't say anything wrong here. Twitter's just saying, oh, well, people are going to take this the wrong way. Oh, that's on Trump. What? What? Trump is not... It hurts my brain. The second tweet may also serve as an encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts that the inauguration would be a safe target as he will not be attending. Who said that? Did somebody come out and go, oh, Donald Trump's not going to be there. It's going to be safe to blow up the inauguration. Okay. The use of this one gets me. The use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. This is the dog whistle argument. He's saying American patriots. He's really saying, it's really a dog whistle saying, you know, my militant supporters who are going to go and cause violence at the Capitol. That's what American patriots actually means according to Twitter. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice long into the future and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form is being interpreted as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition and instead that he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. All of this is leaps, incredible leaps into fantasy land. Plans for future armed protests have already begun proliferating on and off Twitter, including a proposed secondary attack on the U.S. Capitol and State Capitol buildings on January 17th, 2021, which never came to fruition. Because Trump didn't tell anybody to storm the Capitol. Trump didn't tell anybody to have an insurrection. He just went out there and went, oh, stop the steal. Oh, this election was stolen. Meh. Any person with half a brain saw this as him being a big fucking crybaby. And if so what Twitter was interpreting, well, that's on Twitter. This is their interpretation. This is not a sane person's interpretation. This is their interpretation through the lens of their, worldview. So, as our determination is that the 2 tweets above are likely to inspire others to replicate the violent acts that took place on January 6th, again, and that there are multiple indicators that they are being received and understood as encouragement to do so. Yeah, so this is their comprehensive analysis, except they don't provide any proof about any of this to be true. So I ask, is this somebody who is is this a company who is an arbiter of free speech? No, they're not. They're interpreting other people's speech. That is not being an arbiter of free speech. They're trying, in the case of Donald Trump, who again, not a good guy, but they through that lens, they're interpreting speech as being a way to connect him to like the LARPers from January 6th. Again, that dog whistle argument. There is no dog and there's no whistle, and you can't draw that line. Not in a sane way. You could draw a line, it would go zigzag and do all this and eventually land on Trump. But at the end of the day, you can't draw a straight line to Trump on this. He should not have been banned. And to be quite honest, we all saw this coming. Every conservative on the planet, every libertarian, anybody, remotely to the right, even just a smidge to the right, maybe they're socially, liberal and fiscally conservative, even those people saw this coming. Because Twitter has a long history now, multiple years over years, of censoring conservative and Republicans and people on the right, or people who do not align with the approved narrative of the corporate media, which makes Twitter, basically complicit with the corporate media. They're complicit with YouTube, complicit with Facebook, complicit with NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all of them. Notice I lump Fox in there too, because they are a corporate media entity with an agenda, just like the rest of them. And to say otherwise, to believe otherwise, is just ridiculous. So Elon Musk coming in, what does this mean? Elon Musk coming in, he saw this, he's been watching this. This is a smart dude. He doesn't do stuff impulsively without reason. You don't get to be successful if that's the way you are. That's just reality. Elon Musk is doing what he's doing because he has an agenda. Absolutely. And that agenda appears to be, God willing, freeing up a platform, which is a platform where people can publicly state things, meaning it's like the town square. So don't come at me with, Twitter's a private company. Don't do that shit. You might as well start censoring, over-the-air TV. Why not? Private companies run all that stuff, right? Yeah. Case law is against you on this one. Maybe I'll do another, show on that. It doesn't really fit my theme, but whatever. Maybe I'll do a show on that. But Twitter is not an arbiter of free speech, which means that they are not an arbiter of democracy, because free speech is essential for a democracy to thrive. And Twitter is really kind of the canary in the coal mine. Twitter and social media in general are kind of the canary in the coal mine. Yes, there's a lot of division and hate and all sorts of just crud on Twitter and Facebook and all the other social media platforms, but they're indicators of what our soul in this country is really like. Again, we used to have a society that believed in discourse and debate and positive conversation, and social media came along and basically said, you know what, you don't need to do any of that. Because in the old days, we would be at the barber shop, or we'd be at the local pub, or we would be, sitting on a park bench, having a discussion with our neighbor to their face, talking about why we disagree with, Nixon, or why we rally behind Jimmy Carter, or why we believe abortion is good, or why we believe abortion is bad. We had these conversations, and we had them face to face. And when you have conversations face to face, you can basically hold yourself back a little bit from, being a vile person, because that person could just smack you upside the head. It's harder to face people when you're being nasty to them. So social media comes along and says, here's a web browser. Here's an app. And once you throw that thing up, there's now a barrier between you and the people you're talking to. And so now you're basically anonymous, and you can say whatever the hell you want. Whatever you want. There's no consequence. There's zero consequence. That person's not going to reach through the monitor and just smack you, or put a gun to your head or anything like that. No, of course not. that social media is free from consequence. Real life consequence, not digital consequence. There's a difference. Social media is mostly free from those types of consequences when it comes to your speech. And so as a result, Twitter, we're gonna shut down this speech over here because they're hurting people. No, they're not. There's no consequence. Nobody's getting hurt. Not really. We have exposed our souls on social media, and it's ugly. It's gross. It's disgusting. And that's all I can say about that. It's just, and I hope that what this will do is kind of spark some innovation at Twitter and other companies. Maybe Elon has some ideas. I mean, the guy's basically an engineer. He's extremely smart. Maybe he's got some ideas about how we can introduce discourse again, real discourse, where people can have opposing views and not be at each other's throats. Because that's the way things used to be. No, mostly. Now everybody's involved in that mudslinging. It used to be just our politicians. Now it's everybody. And it's not a place I want to be. I want to get back to where we can have healthy debate, discourse, friendly debate, be respectable with each other. And maybe Elon Musk can help us with that. I don't know. He's not Tony Stark, as I said earlier. He's not going to unite the world, but maybe he can make a difference. Just a small difference, and maybe start something. Thanks for joining my show today. Again, my name is Scott Allison, and this is Beyond 280. I do stream on every Friday around this time, and I'm also releasing a podcast, and it's mostly going to be this content, but sometimes I'm going to jump on and do a podcast just here and there, just because. I would really love it if you would subscribe. Make sure you click the bell and be reminded when I do go online or when I do upload new content. And again, thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great weekend and, a great life. Thank you. Bye.